So actually, the philosophy behind the shading principle goes back to the natural layering principle. Let's say what nature created, to layer something with dentin and enamel. And this is what we have. Now we have an enamel shell. And this enamel shell has a translucency based on the search of Professor Dirci way back in the 90s. It was repeated in 2000, 2005, where they measured natural enamel and natural dentin sample separately from each other. And from that we know that enamel, doesn't matter if it's a young patient, adult or elder patient, is very similar. Of course, with young patients it's a little bit more milky, then it turns more into be translucent, and even when we get elder it gets more translucent. So because of that fact, we could focus on one universal shade, which in this case we call A0. Why? Because now, as we talk about the natural layering and having, let's say, a dentin underneath, and this is also, let's say, the quintessence of the study, that the dentin always creates the tooth color. Of course, enamel is responsible for the perception of that transmission, and of course also for translucency and opalescent effects. So whatever we place underneath the veneer will create the final color. The dentin shades we use, they have an opacity of between 70 and 80%, so they also will always involve, let's say, the underlined structure. Doesn't matter dentin or enamel to, also blend in, let's say, into the existing environment. And of course, now we can keep this very simple in just using the veneer with one underlining dentin shade, or we can do the same thing as we have done it with the layering technique, that we involve effect shades. For example, we can increase those opalescent effect or these hollow effects on the incisal edge by using a little bit of a blue effect shade. So it's kind of a paint-in procedure into our shell. And actually this way we can of course increase things, or that we implement a little bit of the enamel shade, which we use also for the veneer fabrication, just on the incisal edge, and then we again place the dentin inside the veneer, create also a little bit this marmalin design, and then implement a little bit of enamel, and then overlap everything again with dentin, and then once we push it in place, of course all this will nivellate slightly and create a very natural look.